Hi, everybody, and welcome again to another session of videos from datadice. We're going to be talking today about the new BigQuery UI. So, Alex, what are the big changes that are coming up now for BigQuery?
Hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, exactly. BigQuery released many months ago already a new UI. And to be honest, I also cannot remember so good from the old UI.
Oh yes, I can remember.
Yeah?
Very good about that. Yeah.
I think I get a
whenever you needed to have a second query tab,
yeah.
you needed to duplicate the whole tab, which was like for the first and the second okay. But at the end, it resulted in massive memory pain for the Chrome browser at a certain point. So yeah, that was an update and a change which was needed a long time ago already.
So let's say you want to start with BigQuery, then you have for sure your SQL editor in one window. And then you can say, okay, I want now a second tab on the right or on the left side. And then you can parallel programming on two SQL editors. And you don't have to switch between tabs in your browser or something. So it's really tabs inside your SQL editor. Or what you can also do is to put, for example, on the left side, the SQL editor, when you write SQL ETL or something, and on the right side, you can put the table, for example, you're querying. So mostly I do left side SQL, and on the right side, the table I'm querying. Sometimes also for some QA stuff, I have on the left side the current state of the ETL, and on the right side my QA stuff where I check some stuff.
I think with the split screen, it's like super valuable if you know about your schema. If you need to know about your schema in the table, you query that, you search for certain like columns you need in your query, and I think for that it's really good that you don't have to arrange like different windows. To have a really good experience beforehand was kind of a job to do because you had to arrange everything, and in the meantime you just like split screen your window, and either you have like multiple queries running, or you also have basically the schema or basically preview of a table.
Any of you see a limitation to this current approach, or something that you would like to see done otherwise in this new tab system?
Yeah, so you just can have two tabs.
Yeah.
For Mac sizes of Windows, I would say it's totally fine. But when I see, for example, your desktop, or when you have two monitors, then it's also fine, I think. But it would be possible, or it would be great if you could also have 3 layers or 4 layers of. So if you needed it would make sense. But in terms of when you're working just on a Mac or on a little laptop or whatever notebook, 2 tabs is fine for now, I would say.
Yeah. Sometimes 3 would be good. If you have 2 queries running, you would like to have another table or like schema or whatever. And sometimes it's needed if you have bigger screens. Would be good, like valuable change.
So then we have maybe the hidden champion of this update is the F1 menu.
Yeah.
And all of the shortcuts coming with it. Before it was really annoying to really editing your queries in a lot of ways. For example, just to search in an SQL query was already hard because you had just the opportunity to search in the browser directly.
The viewers who never used F1 menu, and we need to explain that a little bit better. And so there's a menu now you can open, which is like parts of that are like shortcuts you can use. And for everyone who were coding inside Sublime Text or like PyCharm or DataGrip or all the IDEs you can use, you know that there, for example, functions which give you the possibility to select any word or any like kind of code or like string. And then you have shortcuts, for example, Control-D, Control-G, where you can basically jump to the next basically element, which has exactly the same string. Or to all of them, like mark all of them or mark only the first, the second, the third. This helps massively if you need to do bigger changes, like, or if you do need to adapt something. And this is for example, one feature which is now which they brought into the BigQuery UI to do that in the browser directly or in the editor directly, and it works quite good.
So what I mostly use is search and replace, I would say. So exactly, especially when you really want to transform your query, or when you say, okay, now the column of the original table changed, and then you just have to search for the old one and replace it with the column name.
I think that really depends on how you basically write a query or how are you doing those changes. So because search and replace is basically exactly the same, like select something, press the shortcut for getting all of them, right? And then just typing in the new stuff or copying in. It's exactly the same. It's just another way.
So because, for example, in PyCharm, I do exactly that, what you mentioned. But in BigQuery, I do it the other way.
Yeah, you see?
It's crazy, But
that helps very much. So I'll give you an example. Sometimes you need all the, or let's say 80% of the columns inside one table you would like to basically query. So you open your table and basically, how to say, the right column, you select all your columns, which will then bring you the columns, or which will then give you the columns, the data type, and a nullable is also attached normally, because it's part of the schema. And you just quickly copy it inside. So what you would like to do now is get as quick as possible rid of string and nullable. So you copy top nullable top. So this is part of the string. You press shortcut. I think it's also Control G or it's Control D. I don't know. I don't know. We will
put it.
We put it inside that you see it everywhere. So that you see it immediately. Because I'm always getting confused with PyCharm and then DataGrip and then Sublime. Everywhere it's a little bit different. So and if you basically copy it inside and you select a string and you see, give me all occurrences and just press on delete, it's immediately gone, and you don't have to go into every single line and like get rid of the string. So this helps like massively and reduces your time in a big way.
Also for the keys, I have still a little sheet of paper which I prepared when I saw that to see quickly what are the shortcuts.
That reminds me of roughly saying 2011, when I did a lot of things with Excel back in the days. So with Excel, you had the possibility to press on Windows systems or to press on Alt. And when you press Alt, you basically got those numbers attached to basically the menu. So you had basically, I think it was normal characters for going from like start to like edit to, I don't know, window and so on. And then it basically continues with the numbers. And for every basically sub category you were going inside, you could press another number. So there was like cheat sheets like which say Alt E 2 3 4 was creating a pivot table, for example. And it was super interesting how quickly you got used to those like numbers and shortcuts, and how quickly you could work. The problem now is you use too many software, I would say, right? At least for me, So as I said, PyCharm, like DataGrip, like Sublime Text. Sometimes if I quickly want to open something, it's not working for me for PyCharm or DataGrip. I do it in Sublime Text because it's super quick. And
but I think in most of the things you can adjust it. I think so. At least in PyCharm and DataGrip you can.
True.
But I think for BigQuery, at least it's not possible.
For BigQuery, it's not possible. For the others, you could do, but normally you don't have enough time, or at least you think you don't have enough time.
It's better to complain every time when you are.
Yeah. So we'll make some other videos complaining about how to do it better.
Oh yeah, Ricardo, you want to say?
I was just saying that we should bring back Excel for all these calculations.
Yeah, we will cut that out. We will cut that out.
I think before you had just one tab. So if when you are in the query, you have the query, and then when you want to see a table, then it also shows, now it's deleting the SQL query and you see the table, right?
That's a good point, that's true. Before the changes, when you clicked on a table, the SQL query was gone. You are lucky if you still have it in your query like history. that's a good improvement. Because now when you basically, whatever you open, at least if you stay in the editor tab, like in the workspace, then it's opening in a new tab in the same basically section. Beforehand, there was coming this modal window of you leave the workspace.
So when you are opening a new table, it's opening a new tab for sure. And when you click on one table again, which is already opened in one of the tabs, you just getting back.
But one problem stays, right? Like if you go to scheduling queries, to BI engine, and so on, still the same issue that we will leave your workspace and everything is gone, right? If you compare that, for example, with Snowflake, they really did it in a nice way, I really have to say. Because whenever you open or you close your browser, window, tab, whatever you do, and you basically return to your tab, all the queries will be there. This is a very, very nice feature where BigQuery should go to, so that you never lose basically what you were writing.
Yeah, so now this feature leads now to that I don't have anymore 10 tabs open with SQL, but 2 tabs mostly, with one with SQL Workspace and the tables, and one with scheduled queries, transfers, and so on.
Which is good for your working memory, I would say. At least if you use Chrome. Which brings me to one fact. I think sometimes it's a little bit slow. Do you experience the same
you
thing?
said it one or 2 times, but I don't recognize it.
Okay, and maybe I have to completely change my system.
And then I have at least one more topic, is this whole autofill, which was also, but but I'm not sure if it's really depending on the BigQuery UI improvement, or if it was more in parallel.
That's a good question. I think autofulfill was there before, but I think they changed it. And it's not really working good.
I would say it's already improved. What I can remember is when I started with that and tried to use it, I can always remember on the form, and I just typed in F and R, and then I clicked tab. It was already always some absolutely unimportant function, which is
which still sometimes happens, right? With some strange mathematical function you're using once in 5 years. What about priority here? What about ranking? What about scoring? It's not that hard. And so
hopefully they will prioritize it in the way how many users use all of the functions.
But the things which will sometimes be auto-fulfilled or recommended is definitely nothing someone is used very often. There's another thing which freaks me out sometimes. If you type in the dataset name, you press on auto-fulfill, it gives you a wrong project. And so of course only if the dataset, if this dataset name is multiple times in a project, what's sometimes happening for us as an agency is we start with a project inside our, we start with a new project inside our project, and or we create basically a project in our workspace, in our domain, and then we basically move it to the customer to a complete different project. So we have this data set twice, and you are inside the project of the customer, like the new one, where we used to work, where we're working in all the time. You type in your dataset name, you press on tab, and it fills you the old project name. But you are not in that project, you are on the right project, because then you have no chance, you cannot go back, right? You have to then, with the tab or the mouse, go there, remove it, and type in the real project name.
What I also sometimes recognize is when you're going to a table, and then you have in the information section, I think, or something it is, there you have the whole table name. So with project, dataset, and table. And then sometimes I copy it and paste it in my query. But it didn't work because between project and dataset is the column. And you cannot use it, or at least I don't know how, in the SQL workspace. So
in the SQL workspace, it's simply a dot.
Right. So you have always to replace the column with
and
a
in
dot.
The other notation, it's a column. It's. I don't know why they do it. I'm not quite sure if we mentioned that in the changes of 2021. Did we talk about limitation of export? When you export to a local CSV file, it's not limited to 16,000 rows anymore.
Yeah,
it's now limited
to the size.
The size. I'm not quite sure how much it is, but it's way better. Because normally you only have 3 columns and you need some, I don't know, order IDs or whatever.
Yeah. So yeah, I didn't. Yeah, because I didn't use so much export, but I know that it is. Would be interesting. Where's the sweet spot between if it's better to have 60,000 rows with how many columns?
Yeah.
And I think it also differentiates between the data types and so on. So yeah, what we also can mention quickly is that you can also switch between the different UIs. So you can also say it's still, so when you're clicking on disable new UI or something it's called, it still say you really want to change it.
You really want to do it?
But it's
you really want to go back to a legacy mode, like with the second row on the bottom with what's that, jobs completed, or basically historic jobs.
Yeah, so jobs, head queries, and project queries.
And save queries is on top, right, over the query space. Then you have the second part is, I think, like results and so on, and the third part is then those jobs. Yeah. And that was different before, because before you were running that query at the result page, but you could not basically, you didn't have that third row.
And when you are executing a query and you get the resulting table, now it's under the query for sure. And also if you have 2 separated tabs, then you have on the left side the result of the left, on the right side the one of the right tab. And before it was also at the bottom, right?
It was at the bottom.
You have there also the advantage of 2 tabs.
I think that's the most of the changes which are at least relevant for us. Tell us if you have other things we might forgot or which are relevant for you, or if you're still on legacy mode, which will also be interesting.
Yeah, and then the reasons.
Well, I always were too busy to improve to the new front end could also be. That was a major thing for me, I would say. We had a new employee back in the days, and what happened, of course, was he was running into the beta program of the new UI. I was not. So I really had that inner pain of why didn't Google select me as a contributor and the power users in CS. Not quite sure what happened there.
Thanks everybody for watching, and keep giving us your comments of the videos. And
I think Ricardo's now also fixed to try out the new BigQuery UI.
Yeah, he has to. we will make some challenge for him.
I'm convinced. All right.
If you don't see Ricardo in the next videos, he's either busy or, I don't know, he's not in the company anymore. Something will happen.
See you in the next videos. Have a good day.
Yeah. And check out all the other content. See you. Bye-bye.